Welcome to Unleashing Happiness with Cecilia Hendricks, the podcast where we'll share ways to change your mindset, change your habits, and change your life. Welcome back to Unleashing Happiness. I'm really excited that you're here, but of course I say that every time because I'm just so excited. Today's episode I'm really looking forward to because I've got some amazing questions for you to ask yourself that have really helped me get myself started and really start to dig into what it is that I want and necessarily why I was waiting. There was a lot of things in life that I was like, yes, this is what I want. This is what I want to do. And then I would turn around and just continue to live my life in the exact same way that I already was. And that's not to say that there's anything wrong with the way that you're living your life now, but there are things that you can do to better your life. There's questions that you can ask yourself about the things that you're doing, the way that you're living, the habits that you're continuing every day, and say, is this the stuff that I want to continue? Is this the way that I want to move forward? Or is maybe there's something else that I would like to add to my life or improve? I think a lot of the help that I found or podcasts that I found and info and content that I found was really for people that were miserable in their lives. And that's not to say that there's not folks listening today that are miserable and are really struggling. And I understand that, and that's okay. And I think that it's great that you're here and you're making those steps to better your life for yourself. That's a wonderful thing to do. But there's also people that were like me, and even the position that I'm still in, where there are things that I really love about my life and I don't want to change, but I also still wanted more. I was still yearning for more. So regardless of where you are in your life right now, whether you are really struggling and you're quite miserable and you're struggling to get out of bed and to find purpose in your life and you just don't like where you are, or you're more like me and enjoyed some parts quite a bit, but still wanted more, still want more, are still kind of feeling like there's pieces of you that are missing. As I've shared, I'm a mother and I felt like I had really kind of lost some of who I was in being a mother. That didn't mean that I didn't like being a mother. I've actually adore being a mother. I had my daughter when I was 18. So my entire adult life has been spent as a mother. I definitely identify as one, and I identify as a really good mother. I've got great relationships with my kids. I absolutely adore them. Yesterday, actually, we went to the water park here and spent the entire day, and I mean open to close, entire day at the water park. And I've told everybody, this is one of my top 5 favorite days I have ever had. I had so much fun. But one of the things that I realized in looking back, and I was actually telling my daughter this yesterday, or this morning actually, was that when I used to go to the water park or the amusement park, I was so focused on making sure that everything was ready for everybody else that I sat with our stuff and never went on any of the stuff. Like I didn't do any of the water slides. I didn't go in the pool. I didn't do this kind of stuff. And it wasn't even a conscious effort. It was just something that kind of happened. And I didn't want to do that anymore. That was not the way that I wanted to spend my time. So yesterday, I tell you what, I was on every single ride I could get on. I was laughing hysterically. We were singing in line. It was one of the best days that I've had. And I really enjoyed myself because I was myself. I connected with things that I enjoy. I had a really good time because the weather was beautiful. We rented a cabana. We just had a really beautiful day. So it's not as if being a mother was something that I disliked or that I had regretted doing, but I still felt like I had lost bits of myself. As a woman, I felt like I had lost a bit of my own sensuality. As a person and a human, I felt like I had lost some of the childlike joy that I can get, like in things in going to an amusement park. And I really wanted to connect back with that stuff. And a lot of what I'm sharing throughout these series of podcasts and the content that I have on my Instagram or my YouTube channel is really about reconnecting with those parts of you. And when you do that, it's remarkable the changes that start to happen in your life. If you're someone who's like a law of attraction, a law of assumption person, as I've shared, I'm a big follower of Neville Goddard. I think his content is absolutely amazing. And he talks a lot about your concept of yourself. Well, your concept of yourself is not only those parts of you that you're consciously aware of that you're stating about yourself. Yes, I am a mother. Yes, I am a woman. Yes, I am a wife. Yes, I am a daughter. It's also those parts that you subconsciously don't realize that you are framing beliefs with your day-to-day habits. And these habits become part of you in ways that you may not even realize until you start to dig in and start to ask yourself questions. And some of those are, I'm the caregiver who sits with our stuff and makes sure everybody has lunch and water. I'm the person who doesn't get on the rides because I'm just watching and taking pictures of everybody else. And yesterday I left my phone. The cabana was awesome. It had a locker in it. And I threw my phone in that locker and off we went for the day. And it was amazing to be able to do that because that's not something that I've done in the past. That is something that I've really struggled with in the past. And it was kind of shocking when I started to dig into the things that I wanted, that I'm like, no, I want to go down the water slide. I want to race with my kids. I want to be laughing and having this like really beautiful childlike moment of joy in the things that I am doing. And you're able to do that. We all have the ability to do that, whether that's going to the water park or swinging at the park or taking a beautiful walk outside and stopping and smelling the roses. All of these things build up to joy that kind of fills your cup. And the more that you start to focus on that, just the more everything else in life really starts to come together. And you start to feel more love for yourself and from others because the world is constantly mirroring back to you what you feel. So once we talk about these questions that I'd really like you to stop and ask yourself and really journal. I do recommend journaling. There's power in the words that you write, and it's a really fantastic thing to do. Once we talk about that, then I want to talk about the way that you make choices in the habits that you do, especially once you're aware of them. The nice thing is that once you're aware of something, you're able to change it. But there are things that as you start to dig into this, that you're going to be like, wow, I didn't even realize this was going on. So a lot of this is going to be becoming aware, asking those questions. The other piece I'd like to talk about today is adding movement to your day, the importance of keeping yourself physically moving. There's, physical and mental benefits to that. From there, we're going to talk about getting light in the morning in the way that benefits you, not only with your circadian rhythm for getting sleep, but also mental benefits, a part of that too. And then the last one's going to be decreasing distractions, which I think is huge, especially in the world that we live in today, and being able to decrease those so that you start to focus more on yourself. I still to this day find myself when I'm really digging in and attempting to change a habit that I have, maybe with like my morning routine or something like that, my phone becomes much louder of a distraction for me of like, well, I'll just check my Instagram or, I'll just take a minute and read a news article. And really that's just kind of procrastination so that you don't have to dig in and really start making changes because it's uncomfortable at first to make these changes. So let me start by asking you to ask yourself these 3 simple questions. And I'll say, take a moment, pause the podcast. If you're driving, take note to come back to this later, but really put some thought into this, write it down and be considerate of your thoughts that come up, but also recognize the thoughts that first come up. I think those are really the ones to dig into because it'll pop into your head really quick, this kind of answer that you have for these. And that's very, very telling. So the first one, if you had 1 year left to live, guaranteed, we're told you've got 1 year left and that's it. And unfortunately, you're going to die in 1 year from today. What would you stop doing? I had to sit with this one for a while when I asked myself this question, because there was so much that bubbled up into me. And some of what I would stop doing was being so hard on myself, was missing out on things because I felt like it wasn't the right thing to do, was missing out on things that I wanted to enjoy in life because I felt like it wasn't the right thing to do. There's others that are very kind of personal for me, but those were really the big ones where it's like, wow, there's things that I'm missing out on because I feel like I have to be home to make dinner. There's things that I'm missing out on because I feel like I have to make sure all the laundry is done. And when I come to the end of my 1 year and I look back on my life, I'm not going to be thankful and proud of the fact that our hampers were never full of dirty clothes. As a matter of fact, I would kind of prefer that they were full of dirty clothes. It's not to say that I don't want myself or my family to have clean clothes by any means, but those dirty clothes represent fun days. So like from yesterday when we were at the water park, we have dirty clothes. We've got clothes that smell like chlorine because we spent so much time in the pool. That is something enjoyable to me. I don't have to rush to go get the laundry done. And of course, I do want to make sure I make time for that in my day. I do want a clean house. In future episodes, we'll talk about the importance of having a tidy space and how good that is for your mental health and just the way you feel overall. But for today, for me, it's like I need to find a balance of keeping my home clean, cooking the meals that are good for us and make me feel better, but also really going out and still enjoying stuff for myself. If I want to sit down and read a book, I'm going to do that now over vacuuming. And I used to put so much ahead of that I really did miss out on things because of it. And I don't want to do that anymore, especially if I knew I only had 1 year to live. My mother growing up kept a spotless home. It was actually remarkable looking back on how spotless our home was. And as much as I adore my mother and we had some really amazing memories, I also have a lot of memories of her not being at things with us. And I realize now as an adult, looking back, that the reason was because she was home getting stuff done. She was going to the grocery store. She was cleaning the house. She was cooking dinner. And so she wouldn't go with us when we went to the pool. And it saddened me because I don't want to miss every pool time with my children or my family. And really for myself, I enjoy going to the pool. I don't want to miss out on that because I'm cleaning the house. And so finding ways to create balance, whether that's asking your family to start helping more, doing more of a schedule. If you have the means, hiring a housekeeper, which is fantastic. There's no shame in saying, I want more time for me, more time for the joy in my life. And so I'm going to add this into my day so that I can get help. And then that way I've got more time for myself. I think that's really important for everybody, not just women, but I do think women, especially mothers, tend to fall into this a bit more. So that's the first question. If you had 1 year to live, what would you stop doing? Here comes the second question. If you had 1 year to live, what would you start doing? And of course, a lot of my answers fell into the same thing, like the opposite of what I would stop doing. I would start going outside more. I would spend more time with my kids. I would ask more questions of people. I would also connect with people that maybe I haven't connected with in a while. I would tell more people how I actually felt about them. And that's not to say that I would chew people out. I actually mean the opposite. I would reach out to people and tell them how much I love them. I would tell them how much I appreciate the person that they are, how proud I am to see the growth that they have in their lives, the ways that they light me up when they reach out. I would really start to tell people more of these beautiful things that they do in life, because it is remarkable to be able to see that. They are wonderful people and I do want them in my lives. And I think a lot of times I end up not telling people because I'm like, well, that's going to be a little cheesy, or maybe they're unable to accept this compliment. But I'd really rather tell them and them have the memory of that if I knew I was going to die in a year. I would also spend less time focused on work and more time focused on myself and the things that I enjoy. I like my job. I've been very open about this. I definitely enjoy my work. I have a wonderful boss. I'm very thankful for the job that I have. But at the same time, I don't want my job to be my life. I don't want my entire focus to be on work, because if I'm going to die in a year, I want to start living more each day. And sometimes that living more is taking a bubble bath and reading a book. But a lot of times that living more is getting out and seeing more, spending more time outside, really digging in with my kids, going down the water slide, all of these like really fun things, and telling people what they mean to me. Because there are times, and this is a bit of a morbid thought that I've always had, but I don't like to leave things open and left unsaid. My thought is that no tomorrow is promised to anyone. And there's a very personal story that's very emotional for me. But my cousin died back a few years ago in 2018, and his death rocked my world. I absolutely adored him. He was one of my favorite people in the whole wide world. And I can tell you that he probably did not know that. I'm sure that he knows that now, because I think that we are connected, that this life doesn't end, or well, this life ends here, but we don't end, right? Like I firmly believe we are a soul with a human body versus a human body with a soul. And so I think he knows that now, but he did not know why he was alive. He was one of the most charismatic, funny, amazing people you could ever meet in your life. He was really one of those people that walks into a room and the entire energy shifted in such a positive way because he was just such a wonderful person. And he would have done anything for his family. Family meant everything to him. The morning of his death, I messaged my brother. I have goosebumps now talking about him, but I had messaged my brother a picture that I found of him and my cousin that really just made me laugh. It was from a past reunion and they were being really silly. And I sent it to my brother and I'm like, oh my gosh, I love this picture of you and Vince. This is so amazing. I miss him. I hope to see him soon. And we talked a little bit about him. I did not send the same picture to my cousin. I did not do a group text. The next morning, I got a message from my cousin's sister saying, I have some really bad news, but Vince has passed away. He died last night. And to say that my world crashed and that I have had to live with the regret of not telling him at any point what an amazing person I thought that he was, it just has eaten at me for quite a while. It has made me really sad because that day I could have given myself and my brother and my cousin some really great emotional closure if I had just included him on the text between me and my brother. And then we would have had that. But instead, I hadn't spoken to him in years. And so no one is promised tomorrow. No one is. And I don't want to ever be at another funeral wishing that I had told somebody something that I felt about them, and not in a mean way. If there's mean things, I can keep that to myself. I can work on that unless it's that I want to talk to them so that we can have closure and move forward in healing. That is completely different. But if it's just to be rude, I don't have any desire to do that. That's not how I want to live my life. That's not the identity that I want to take on. But I will not, again, allow myself to stand at a funeral wishing I had told somebody how much they actually meant to me, how important of a person they were to me, how I viewed them in the wonderful ways that I saw them. Because it does come down to me prioritizing myself and being a bit selfish, that I don't ever want to live with more of these regrets. They have passed on. I believe they're in a much more beautiful place. And when they pass, they're connected with God, and they definitely understand those feelings once they pass. I firmly believe that once he passed, he knew how important he was to all of us. But I have to stay here and know that me nor my brother have that connection of that text message being sent. And who knows if that would have changed anything that happened that day. I definitely don't go down that road of the what ifs. I don't believe that you can change when somebody's time of death is meant to be. but I definitely could have provided us with some more emotional closure and a really great memory of being able to have this like kind of last chat. So that is something else that I would start doing. So that second question is, if you had 1 year to live, what would you start doing? Now we come to the third question, which I find a little much at times because it's kind of shocking to actually be able to answer it for yourself and have to be like, holy cow, what am I doing here? But if you had 1 year to live and you asked yourself, what would you stop doing and what would you start doing? The third question is, why are you waiting? What are you waiting for? Are you waiting to know that your life is going to end before you really get it started? Are you scared of something? But why are you waiting? And what is that waiting actually giving you? This, for me, really opened up why I wanted to start this podcast, the YouTube channel, sharing all of this information, because when I asked myself why I was waiting, there was nothing there other than procrastination stemmed by fear. I was worried what other people would think about me. I was worried that I wouldn't be successful. I was worried that it would be kind of embarrassing to talk about some of these beliefs that I have, that people who especially know me in kind of a quote unquote real life setting would be like, what does she think she's doing? Why does she think she can share this kind of information? Who is she to do this? And I just kind of was like, why do I care? Anybody who has those feelings about me, that's fine. That's their opinion. They're more than welcome to have it. And their opinion of me is not my business nor my concern. And I had to get to a point of saying, this is no longer my concern. Why am I waiting? Why do I care if somebody at the water park thinks it's ridiculous that I'm singing one of the songs out loud while we're waiting in line? Which I will say, me and my daughter started singing one of the songs they were playing. We were waiting in a forever long line. And the greatest thing happened. About half the line started singing with us. It was like a moment out of a little musical teeny bop movie. And it was amazing and so hilarious and so much fun that we're all just like standing in line singing this song. We're all there in the heat. We're all together and everybody just starts singing and laughing and having this like really great time. And I think a lot of people who walked away that day are like, wow, that was like really kind of fun to break out in song while we're standing in line. So don't worry about what other people think about you, but ask yourself, why am I waiting? If I want to do this, why do I have to wait? Why am I not doing these things now? Why am I not adding the joy that I want to feel to my day? What is making me wait? What is making me stop? And so that leads us into talking about habits. So the little kind of quote that I use for my podcast and a lot of my content is change your mindset, change your habits, change your life. So the first step is when you ask yourself these questions and you get really curious and you start asking, what is the identity that I want to have? Why am I waiting to do this stuff? What are the things that I want to do with my life? When you are, let's say you even have, another 40 years left and you're on your deathbed at 80, what do you want to look back and say, this is the stuff that I did? These are the ways that I lived. This was the identity that I had. And this is how I loved other people. I want to feel good. I want people to have nice things to say about me. And yeah, that's a little selfish. I know I'll be dead. I won't care. But for now, I care and I want to be important and I want to feel loved and I want to feel desired and I want to feel like I really enjoyed life. This world is absolutely beautiful when you start looking for the beauty. It's absolutely joyous when you start adding the joy to your day. And there's this great quote that I saw that I shared on my Instagram story today that says, when you start adding that joy, it builds up. So then when something bad happens, you have more resilience towards whatever happened. You're able to handle it a little bit better. And I can tell you without a doubt, I have found that in my own life. I have built up the joys that then when something else happens, I have also the emotional intelligence to stop, take a step back, be a little bit more considerate, and then start to decide what I want to do how I feel, what are my reactions to this? And this all stems back to any kind of law of attraction, law of assumption. If you're looking at like a vibrational type of connection, this keeps your vibration up. This keeps you in good spirits. This makes you enjoy the ways that you're living and the things that you're doing. And it just helps connect everything in your life. And again, the world is a mirror. When you look at like the Neville Goddard teachings, he talks about your concept of yourself. Well, your concept of yourself is all encompassing of all these things that you identify as, consciously identify and subconsciously identify. And how do you want to identify? What is it in life that you actually want? Again, back to those questions. What would you stop doing? What would you start doing? And why are you waiting? You don't have to wait. There's nothing that you need to wait for. You can start adding some of these pieces to your days now. And the great thing about habits is that once you understand how habits work, they can be changed. That is a quote that I stole from the Power of Habit book, which I absolutely love. I highly recommend for everybody to read. I purchased it on Amazon. I've actually now purchased 3 versions of it, one for myself, one for my daughter, and one for my brother, because I think the book is so helpful. But once you understand how they work, you're able to change them, because suddenly your world opens up to all these habits that you have that maybe you weren't aware of. But take a look at the way you woke up this morning. Go back to that moment. You wake up. What are the things that you did? The first 3. Let's say it's go to the bathroom, check your phone, brush your teeth. Okay, so there's the first 3. I can almost promise you that if you look at the day before, it was the same 3. The day before that, the same 3. At some point, your habits no longer become a choice. Once they're set in your brain, that pathway is connected, your brain wants to work efficiently. So the brain says, okay, we've got this pathway. We're going to continue this without much actual thought. So a habit always starts with a cue. There's something that cues you or a craving that comes up that says, oh yes, we're going to start this routine. So with the example of the morning, what it starts is you wake up. So let's say you wake up and you reach over and you grab your phone. That is your cue, the waking up, and then you start your routine of grabbing your phone, checking your phone, going to the bathroom, brushing your teeth. That gives you a reward. Whatever that reward is for you, I'm not sure. I know for mine, when it was checking the phone, it was a little bit of like a dopamine kind of hit of checking notifications, kind of seeing what other people were doing. And I, for some reason, have some sort of procrastination type of reward, but I haven't really identified that yet. But so there's always kind of a reward that you may not even be aware of. It may actually be one that you don't even consider until you start really digging into this. So what I always recommend is identify the habits that maybe you want to stop. So if you're trying to do a new morning routine, which I highly recommend, and we will definitely talk about a lot more, but a morning routine is the best way to get your day started. There are 3 things that if you really need kind of a quick hit start of how to get a morning routine going, the 3 that I always recommend to everyone, if you need something to just get started, I have others that I'll recommend, but these 3 I feel like are really easy ways to get going. The first is to get outside and get morning light as early as possible. Even on a cloudy day, get light into your eyes, no sunglasses, not through a window. Step outside, get some sunshine. Don't look directly into the sun, but be faced towards the sun. This actually gives you a small mental boost. So it'll help kind of your mood throughout the day. And it kickstart for your body to realize, oh, this is wake up time. And it starts your natural rhythm of what we all go through for our sleep wake cycle. And so if you can get outside and get that as early as possible, sit outside for like 10 or 15 minutes. over time, you will definitely start to see a small shift that you're like, whoa, I just kind of feel better. And I really believe it's the morning light. And there is scientific research that backs this up, but it definitely helps kind of your sleep cycle as well. So then you should start to see improved sleep, which is fantastic for your mental well-being as well, is to be able to get good sleep. The second one is to add some form of movement to your morning. Whether you start with like 10 minutes or 30, if you go outside for a walk, you do some yoga, weightlifting, go for a run, whatever it is, I definitely think it's better if you can do it outside. The more time that you can spend outside, the better I think as human beings we are. Makes us feel better. It connects us to nature. It also kind of brings back that joyful feeling that you have. So hopefully you're somewhere that you could do that outside. Morning yoga outside is one of my absolute favorite things to do. It is definitely on my list of joys. It just brings me so much happiness and I feel so good after I do it. And then the third one is to say something nice to yourself, whether that's in a mirror or while you're sitting outside getting the sun. Be nice to you. So give yourself a pat on the back for doing these 3 wonderful things for yourself. Compliment your own hair. Say something nice about the project that you finished or what time you woke up. Whatever it is, say something nice to yourself. Those are the 3 really quick kind of starts to improving your morning and getting started. And this will be a domino effect to some other habits. But if you can start your morning like this, so interrupt whatever routine you currently have, unless you're happy with your morning routine, and that's totally fine. But if you're struggling, especially if you're getting right on your phone in the morning, that is a big no-no. Try to keep your phone away from you, at least for the first hour of the day, if not more. But do an interruption of that habit so that you say, oh, wait, we're not doing that anymore. Instead, I'm going to go outside and get some morning sun. I'm going to add movement to my morning and I'm going to say something nice to myself. 3 very easy starts to improving your life, your mood, and changing these habits that you kind of have, this habit loop. So I don't think I technically went over the habit loop quite that well yet, but a habit is a cue. So a craving, something that says, oh, we're going to start this routine. Then you have your routine. That's whatever you go through after that cue. And then you have the reward. And you'll find these, especially the more you start to pay attention to them, in many aspects of your life. So think about driving to work. I would venture to say that the majority of you listening, myself included, drive the exact same way to work every single day. And there's probably been days that you've either driven to work or home, gotten there and been like, holy cow, I barely remember that drive. So something easy to do with that is every once in a while, switch up the way that you go. Take the long way and appreciate the views, or take a different way that doesn't have as much traffic. Try to avoid the highways one day. Something to kind of switch up this routine, because the more that you start to interrupt them, you can start to kind of work on your habits. So maybe even your cue is getting in the car to drive to work. Not only do you go the same way, but you listen to angry music. I'm just using this as an example. Instead, switch it up and say, okay, my cue is I'm driving to work, but instead now I'm going to listen to an audiobook, or I'm going to listen to an uplifting podcast, or I'm even going to change the type of music that I listen to, and really become present in the drive that you're doing. Become present in what you're listening to. Open, if you have like a sunroof, open the sunroof and have the sun come down on you. Feel the wind hitting your body. Really start to appreciate these physical sensations that we get to experience, which is like having the wind in your hair, feeling the coolness of your steering wheel in your hands, the way that maybe the music that you're listening to makes you feel and uplifts you. And say nice things to yourself then on the drive to work. Now you're making this whole new habit of the way that you spend your time going to work, and the reward will be that you'll feel better. You'll feel more uplifted. You'll feel like you've done something for yourself that day. And it's absolutely remarkable. I highly recommend. And to kind of come back around to decreasing distractions, one of the biggest distractions that we have in today's society is our phones. Our phones is fantastic. The amount of information that I have at my fingertips, the way that I'm able to get a hold of my children, the way that I'm able to dial into a work meeting, whatever it is, that's absolutely amazing. And I'm very thankful for it. But our phones are also a huge distraction. So start to pay attention to the habits that you have around your phone, or any other distraction that you allow into your life, whether that's sitting and watching TV for hours at a time, or maybe binge eating because you're wanting to kind of distract yourself from things, and say, this is a habit that I would like to break. For myself, I really struggled with getting on my phone first thing in the morning. I literally would grab my phone and that would be the first thing that I would do. And it was a habit that I really wanted to change. I didn't want to spend that time on my phone because I noticed that whatever I started my morning with, that kind of set the tone for the rest of my day. And I wanted to start my tone in a much different, more uplifting way. I wanted my identity to be focused in the way that my morning started, that I was going to be this successful person, that I was going to be loved and desired and feel good and have high vibration and all of this wonderful, wonderful stuff. And I said, well, okay, I can't really do that while I'm scrolling my phone all dang day long. Like that's not, I don't want to see other people living. I want to go live. So what I started doing for the morning was I started charging my phone elsewhere. I'm an early riser. I don't use the alarm on my phone hardly ever. Every now and then I do, but it's very rare. So I could put my phone elsewhere and not worry about needing the alarm. So then in the morning when I would wake up and I would reach for my phone and it wasn't there, it was a cue to me that I'm changing something. Oh yeah. Now I remember I want to start my morning differently than I did yesterday. And in time, I noticed that it would be, 1.5, 2 hours before I even thought about picking up my phone. And that really set a tone for my day. Now, this could be with any distraction that you have. I'm also a snacker and I'm a bored snacker. So I would struggle to go get like kind of a snack out of the kitchen when I wasn't hungry just because I wanted something to do. So I started to pay attention to what that cue was and what my reward was. And there's a story in The Power of Habit where the author says that around 3:00, while he was working on this book, writing the book, around 3:00, he would always get up and go get a cookie. And he was like, why am I doing this? Now I'm gaining weight. I don't want to be eating this daily cookie. So he noticed that the reward that he was seeking after some trial and error was being able to chat with people. Around 3 p.m., he kind of wanted that social interaction. So he changed the routine. And instead, when the cue of about 3 p.m., because a cue can also be just a time of day, when that cue would hit, he would go talk to somebody for about 10 minutes and he no longer needed the cookie within this routine. He was able to say, okay, I would get up, go get this cookie and chat with people in the cafeteria while I ate the cookie. Well, the reward that he was actually seeking was the actual chatting with people. So you can start to kind of identify this reward on yourself, by yourself in any routine that you have. And some of them are a bit shocking that the reward would be something that maybe I didn't see as a positive, but the dopamine hit that it kind of gave me without being consciously aware of what I was doing was continuing to fuel this reward and this routine. So for me in the morning, getting on my phone, the reward was the relaxation. I started my morning kind of slow. I didn't really have to think about much because I would just scroll my phone. Well, if I still wanted the relaxation, that was fine. I could get that in a different way. But there was other things that I wanted to add to my morning as well. And you can always change the reward. If the reward is that I want to feel good, which relaxation gives me, okay, well then let's change that and start doing some different things that still make me feel good, still make me feel relaxed. And so in my mornings now, I end my routine with sitting down and reading a book while drinking my coffee. And I do it a lot of times outside because I do enjoy being outside. I like listening to the birds. I find it very relaxing and a great way to start the day. So if I start my day with the cue of waking up, I go through this new routine that I've set for myself that I had to kind of decide that I had the discipline to continue before it became a habit. And my reward at the end is the relaxation of sitting with a cup of coffee and reading my book. Well, now I'm still getting the same reward that I did as scrolling my phone, but I've actually added reward because I feel better about myself. So take a look at the times in your life that maybe you have some habits that you don't really want to continue. And now that you realize how they work, you can kind of dig into them and ask yourself questions. If there's a habit, let's say in the morning, of getting up and, getting on your phone for an hour before you get ready for work, ask yourself, what am I getting out of this and why am I continuing it? What would I rather be doing? How would I like to identify in the morning what is the type of life that I would like to have and what are the habits that would connect to that? And again, I cannot emphasize enough the real importance of digging in to learn about yourself. The more you know about the things you want to do, the way you want to live, the person you want to be, how you want to look back on your life when you know that your life is coming to an end, if you are someone who ends up knowing, what is the identity that you want to have? And again, one of the other really important questions that I put is, how do you want to feel when you go to bed at night? What is it that you want to think about your day, the person that you were, the way that you lived when you go to bed at night? How would you feel going to bed knowing that you spent 6 hours of the day watching television? If that's something that you want to do, that's your life and it's your choice. But I definitely know that's not how I want to go to bed. I want to feel like I had a really great day. I want to go to bed pretty much every night so exhausted from my day that I am just full of joy with a perma grin on my face, drifting off to sleep because I had a remarkable day. And I hope that you're able to find that for yourself as well. And start it with just these very simple tasks, asking yourself questions, adding joy to your day, and adding some of these scientifically proven ways to boost your mood, especially in the morning, so that you start having a better day. So I hope that you found this beneficial. I will definitely be back next week, and I thank you for joining. Thank you so much for joining today. If you found this episode helpful and you enjoyed it, please definitely subscribe, but also please leave me a review. The more reviews that I'm able to get, the more the podcast is shared with additional people, and that would be fantastic and greatly appreciated. Also, feel free to check out my Instagram, Unleashing Happiness Podcast, and come find me on YouTube where I post shorter snippets of the same kind of information on a weekly basis. That's Unleashing Happiness on YouTube as well. Thank you again for being here.